Recently, I made a video talking about simming and how you could use simming to make an informed decision and pick the best thing from your vault. I was blown away by the response. There were two types of comments. Number one, there were those who genuinely enjoyed the content and found the guide useful. Number two, there were a group of individuals who acted as if I just killed their firstborn right in front of their eyes. Here's a sample of a couple of the more tame ones. This got me. There were a lot of these comments asking if this was sponsored. I still don't understand why that was a thing. I wasn't the only one that was confused. Why are people so mad at you? Great info. Thank you, Daniel R. What a Chad. But regardless, there was one thing that I realized. There was a lot of anger about this sort of thing. I think a lot of that is misplaced, and I think a lot of that comes from misunderstanding of what Sims are and what they're actually supposed to do. I think a lot of these individuals have some frustrations with things like Raider.io, with things like Warcraft logs, and they see something as technical as simming, and they rope it in there as something that's a gatekeepy vibe. That's only for the top of the top. But again, you know what I think this boils down to? I think this boils down to a misunderstanding of what simming is now, what it's meant to do, and how it can help. Not just the top end, but the low end as well. Number one, when I sim, it's not meant to be a min-max thing. It's meant to just gauge and get some clarity on how strong an item actually is. You don't have to do this. It's optional. I just like to do it because simming gives me additional clarity. It's sort of like in math class, like imagine if you had a calculator and imagine if you had a complicated formula, right? There are going to be those who prefer to do it by hand, but there are also some who are going to prefer to do the calculator because it's faster. It makes it a bit easier, right? Gear is way more complex nowadays. It is what it is. That's just the game. Take a look at these tooltips on here. These are classic caster trinkets. We got Restraint Essence of Saffron. Both of these, by the way, are on the Warlock Bis list from Classic back in the day. You got increases your damage and healing done by 40, and on use with 2 minutes. Magical spells and effects by 130 up to 20 seconds. Awesome. I understand what it does. It's very clear. There's no question mark, right? Take a look at Mark of the Champion. Increases damage done to undead and demons by magical spells and effects up to 85. Boom. I know exactly what it does. I'm reading the tooltip. If you wanted to do something like this, you could probably math it out yourself, right? Or just eyeball it. Now, let's take a look at a caster trinket from the War Within Season 1. The Spymaster's Web. 1,000 mastery, that's pretty straightforward. But let's strap in for this text wall of the equip. Your damaging spells dispatch a spider to spawn your foes, increasing your intellect by 56 per report received, stacking up to 40 times. This effect may only occur every 6 seconds on a 6-second cooldown. Use your accumulated knowledge to strike when the time is right, granting 515 intellect per report for 20 seconds, and consuming their passive effect on a 20-second cooldown. Now, tell me, what is more clear to read on a tooltip and understand how strong it is? The one that just does more damage to undead or demons? Or the text wall behind Spymaster's Web? That is the reality of the gear in the game right now. It is much more complex. It is not simple. And unfortunately, whether I like it, you like it, or someone who played Classic in 2004 or Shadowlands in 2019 likes it, it's just how it is. Is that a WoW trinket or a Yu-Gi-Oh card? Bang. Hey, exactly, dude. I'm not saying, like, extra gear complexity is a bad thing. In fact, I think there's some really nice additions to having more complex gear. So let's take a look at Spymaster's Web, right? It's more complicated, it's more complex for sure. But also, when I play with Spymaster's Web, it's a lot of fun. I feel like I'm going and doing its own little mini game, right? It adds depth to my rotation. It gives me things to think about. I play slightly differently with it. That's fun, dude. I like that. Does it come at a cost of transparency in the tooltip? Absolutely. But for me, I have way more fun equipping Spymaster's Web than I do a passive thing like Mark of the Champion. Wildhead Bis list for the win. Red one, you raised a very important point. There were two real critical points that I got about why people shouldn't sim. The first one was, why not just take a look at the Bis list? The Bis lists come from Sims. Now, that's not to say that Bis lists are invalid. Y'all see me, I use them all the time. All I'm saying is that A, they're derivative, and B, A lot of the times, you might not have something on your BIS list, right? Let me just give you an example. Imagine that you had a particularly interesting vault this week, and you got, what is this? 7 trinkets. You got all these trinkets at the vault at equal item level. And imagine none of these were on your BIS list. Each one of these is its own PhD thesis. You're going to be exhausted by the time you're ready to play the game. And this is where simming can help. For those who have limited time, limited knowledge, or just want to play the game, all you got to do is copy pasta into a website, press go on the calculator, and it'll tell you what's a good answer. It's not always the best answer, but in a sea of vagueness, in a sea of question marks and confusion, this helps make it easier, dude. A lot of y'all, you have limited time. You just don't want to make the wrong decision because of how valuable that weekly vault slot is. And Sims can help with that, man. Aside from this, the other thing that I always saw, item level is king. Just take the thing with a higher item level, always. I'm gonna ask you guys this. You'll probably already know the answer. Out of these 2 trinkets, tell me which one's better. Is it gonna be the eye level 619 Candle Confidant? Or is it gonna be the item level 632 Mythic Track Unbound Changeling? Check this out. Here's some sim data. Farming a champion track, Candle Confidant, from tier 8 delves and upgrading it to 619 will beat out many trinkets that are significantly higher item level than it, being roughly equivalent to a 632 Unbound Changeling for most specs. This is a snapshot of a Demonology Warlock's details. I want you to take a look at this line of text here called Wayne, Not So Gentle Flame. These 2. Those are damage sources that come specifically from the Candle Confidant trinket. You want to know what the next highest thing is above Mr. Wayne? The Demonic Tyrant, the biggest cooldown demo has. This right here is why item level's not always king, because it's not straightforward. You've got a trinket that literally summons the whole cast and crew from Beauty and the Beast to slam the boss, and it's pumping almost higher than your Tyrant. That's crazy work, but that's the reality that we live in, and that's why simming is important, man. Because at face value, dog, I'm seeing a 632, I'm seeing a 619, it's a no-brainer. But under the hood, that's not the case. From a gamer dad, I'm all for simming for gear choices. Yeah, I don't have a lot of time to make mistakes if I want to keep up with everybody else. I have to work hard to fill my vault. I can't afford to make a mistake if I want prog. Thank you. Yo, Judicial? Exactly. I don't think there should be a toxic notion around stuff like simming, because at the end of the day, it's not really there to be a gatekeeping tool. Are some people a little toxic about it? Sure. But my point of view is this is a tool to help save you time and pain. Think about this again. Let's go back to here. If you have an hour to play, 2 hours to play, you got the kid screaming in your ear, you know, you get boss breathing down your neck, you log in and you get hit with this decision. That's not fun. Bro, you just want to slam. And that's the point. The simming, copy, paste, button, boom. Back to the game, make the right decision, save time, save heartache. That's the point. Logs and sims just exist for people who want to achieve that next level of gameplay. It's literally all about bettering yourself, lol. Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like something I really realized, and I kind of knew there was a rift before, but I didn't realize how much anger there was at the difference in playstyles. People are genuinely angry that I made a video about simming. I feel like regardless of how you play the game, there is no right answer. At the end of the day, WoW is such a big game, people enjoy it for different things, right? Some people enjoy pushing cutting edge. Others enjoy going for Keystone Hero. Some people enjoy nothing but pet battles. Some like to do mounts. And it's all the right answer because it's a game, right? People enjoy it for different reasons. But the big discrepancy is like, it's almost like a civil war in World of Warcraft between those who really want to like push for higher stuff and use tools like this and those who don't. There is this zeitgeist that these sort of tools ruin the game in a sense and are only reserved for like the toxic X percentage of gamers, which is just not the case for this, man. Like this tool is literally there to help people who aren't as good or who don't know the math or don't understand the game on a really deep level, like the world first raiders, make a good decision. The reality is that the ultra casual who want to do challenging content but don't want to have to use tools to make themselves better are the loudest. I mean, like, I definitely think there's put it this way, I had some dude try and argue with me that you could do a +10 with a group of full 600 eye levels. Literally the quote was, I'm sure if you got good at your class, You could clear all 10s on Mythic at 600 eye level. That was just way off the rails, bro. But yeah, it's like, the game is just different. It's evolved. It is very complex. It's like calculus, dog. You're sitting in there trying to solve these crazy equations. You can do it by hand if you're good at math and you got time. But bro, what's wrong with using a little, you know, TI-84 graphic calculator? Does that make me a sweat lord? Because I'm trying to do a BC calculus with, you know, my little TI-84? Yeah, playing Brick Breaker in the back? Come on now. What are we doing? To your point, Deej, I am someone who has been stubborn about simming for years. What finally turned me was the vague as hell tooltips. I was given a choice for a weapon that traded out secondary stats for a chance on hit to deal some damage, but no chance is listed. How the fuck am I supposed to make a meaningful choice in my vault if I don't see the numbers? Exactly. Exactly, Loaf. Yeah, dude. It's not a min-max thing. Let's look at this, man. Your spells have a chance to bring the candle to life, summoning a waxen ally to light your enemies. What is a waxen ally? Huh? What is that? Is it a candle? Is it Yankee? Is it Bed Bath & Beyond? Is it cookie scented? Vanilla? Are we doing wax potpourris? What is a wax ally? How are you supposed to gauge power like that? You can't. And that's where I think really simming can help. Because let's face it, dude, the tooltips now, they don't do a good job. Especially on the lower end when you don't understand all of these massive implications. How internal GCDs work, how internal cooldowns on procs work, right? Diminishing returns on certain secondaries, or, you know, how it lines up with your cooldowns, all those things, man. But the sim does at the press of a button, and it makes it easier to make a good decision. With how cutthroat some of the content is, man, if you want to do higher keys, you straight up need the numbers. It's not a skill thing anymore. Skill will get you to a certain point, but you will be numbers checked. Unless you're like what Savage is saying, like Method or Liquid, exactly. Look at what they could do all at 600, but they're literally professional players. Bro, and they're the best in the world. Deej, I feel like you're not taking into account that there's so many gatekeepers and assholes in the game that use the exact tools to tell people that they're not allowed in the game. While you're getting all this hate over an explanational video, there's a divide, but that divide is created by toxicity on both sides. No. I actually agree with that. That, I think, is why, like, that was my point where why people are angry. Like, going back to Daniel's comment right here, right? Why are people so mad at you? What you just said, that's why. There are a lot of people who use gatekeeping or who gatekeep stuff using data tools. And there are a lot of people who are least about it when they don't have to be. But the biggest point that I'm trying to make is that simming isn't one of them. It's Raider.io. They check the scores. They vet your Mythic Plus history. They vet your raid prog. And then Warcraft logs. But simming, that is just a tool to tell you what piece of gear is best for you. I don't think there is a single person pugging Mythic Plus who is going through everyone who applies to the queue and simming the characters to see if they have their optimal gear in their bags. They will check IO, they will check logs, but they won't do this. The bottom line is that all these tools give you info to make decisions. I doubt anyone would disagree that knowing more about the class and gear is a good thing. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, and that's why I found it so strange. When you sim yourself, it's not affecting other people at all. You're just asking a calculator what's the best gear for you. You can't use really simming as a gatekeeping tool unless you're individually simming people, which no one does. Honestly, I feel like anyone against it's misinformed about what they are. That was another reason why I would have ran on this, man. I was dumbfounded at just how much the point was missed. It's literally like, imagine bullying somebody in a math class for using a calculator and calling them sweaty. I'm gonna be real. I want to press a button and play the game. I don't want to play this. I want to play Mythic Plus. I want to play Red. I want to play PvP. Not read the tooltip and rack my brain through paralysis by analysis. And that's where sims are so important. And that's where sims can help not only the high end, but the casual player as well. If you just want to play the game and you want to just do the content and you don't want to get lost in this sauce, man, there is nothing easier than having a calculator that you can plug your stuff into and have it tell you the answer. That's what simming is, man. It's something to make life and the game that is ultimately very complex easier to digest for the casual and the sweaty player alike. That's my thought.